official Riot Games Squad EMEA Championship.
Everybody round here, know we get hype. Everybody round, 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 everybody round here, know we get hype.
Savaş dersine çocuklar kule altında burada kule altında kullanılan bir Sonya vardı. Orada yakalanan oyuncular var. 3 kişilik bir sersemlikle kule altında devam ediyor Narkres. Şimdi de sersemlik kullanacak. Uçar bıçaklar resetlendi, emin değilim ama önemi yok.
Welcome back, everybody, to the WREC. We're about to hit a banger. I hope you got the guess the ending correct before that, Stu. You're normally good with those, right? We didn't do a video where you got most of them wrong or anything.
We don't talk about that. We just
don't
skip that.
talk about guess the ending.
We skip that part.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to come in immediately and flame you. I swear, I get most of those wrong,
I'm used
too.
to it now. I'm used to it.
It's all right. We're heading towards a very interesting series. I'm very hyped for this series, so I'm falling over myself. Like RIX versus Formulation, this is one of these series that we now get to test out. Like RIX have looked like the best team coming onto this new patch. Formulation have been the best team fighting team. So for me, it really is a clash of styles to see whether like RIX can kind of take that away from them with this team fighting AD carry style they've been playing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, both these teams, even though this series might not feel like, you know, in terms of the community, it might not feel like an important game, but it's still an important game because whoever wins this series books their ticket straight to the main event, and the loser still has to play Team Queso tomorrow, where the winner of that will go straight to the group stage. So there's a lot on the line for these two teams. And like you said, you know, RIX and Formulation, both have looked really, really strong. RIX, we know, are a really strong team, but Formulation has been kind of the surprise factor, beating Viv yesterday, taking them down as well, booking their ticket to Barcelona. So it's going to be an interesting series for sure.
It is. And before we get to our series, we've got a couple of things to do. And one of those is to check in with Hells and see what his key points of this series are.
Thank you very much, Stress. So yeah, the first key point that I have is the obvious one. This is the RIX patch. We've talked about it many, many times, but this is the exact patch where RIX is going to excel in. And I not only want to talk about RIX, by the way, because the next one is going to be Formulation, right? Like Formulation Gaming is the team with the special picks. And I feel like they can take away a series from RIX with some of these crazy picks that they've showed, right? The Yasuo, the Irelias, the Vecco Seraphines, the etc, etc. You've seen some crazy picks come from them. And in this game, I think we're going to be seeing even more crazy picks because both teams are already qualified, which means that, you know, this is not much of an all or nothing game. This is more of a seeding game, and I really think like if there is a game where we see the craziest picks ever, this one is going to be it, because they can get away with it basically, right? Like they can get away with it, and especially from Formulation Gaming, because they're up against RIX, who is the heavy favorite in this game. I feel that they're going to be coming through with some crazy picks and just completely surprise RIX, as we expected from Team Dark. Formulation Gaming is going to be the Team Dark of this series. I love to say it this way, but yeah, enough talking. Let's actually get to the series. So back to Stress and Stuart to get us further into the series.
Thank you very much, Hells. So I'm going to take us back in time, and I hate doing this because I know the RIX players probably hate it. So all the way back to January when you and I were casting Purge, and I had no expectations out of Formulation, and I had high expectations out of RIX. And it was in that meta that RIX hadn't found their playstyle properly. Now I think this matchup is totally different, and RIX actually are the ones that have their playstyle. We've got Doom playing the AD carries again, and as we take a look at the lineups, I think Random and SE7 have also found their footing quite a little bit more than they had back at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, SE7 was kind of the new one in the team with Random as well, but SE7 was the one that kind of struggled at the start of the year. He didn't really find his footing, but now they've had a bit of practice. Now, as Helza said already, is that this is kind of the RIX meta now. You've got Random that can play these really heavy carry Baron laners. You've got SE7 that, even though he's not really the main carry, he's more than utility champions in the jungle. You got Doom on the AD carries, Clue on the enchanters, but even on the other side as well, for Formulation, you know, I think that mid mid lane matchup, Snitch against Don, is going to be really, really interesting. We've seen Don play champions like Irelia, which, as we saw in the Gessie ending, you know, triple kill Irelia as well. And I think Irelia is quite a popular pick at the moment. And we've seen him play some other champions as well, like Fiora mid lane as well. So I think that's going to be a very, very interesting matchup.
Yeah, we've seen Formulation drawing a lot of Irelia bans, so I kind of anticipate RIX to opt into that as well. I mean, RIX, they played a lot of Jinx. I wonder whether we'll see more kind of sides of the AD carry meta coming from them, or whether it'll be continuing towards that kind of like snowballing team fight AD carry style. We're going to have to wait till our first draft, because Formulation have played lots of different stuff. They played mages in the bottom lane. They played, I think there was the Yasuo that Hells was talking about. So it really is kind of a much more open draft than I think Team Queso was, where it was like Team Queso are going to draft for their jungler, and then everything else around that is going to be able to funnel resources.
Yeah, that duo lane, you know, like you said already, you know, Doom maybe gets a pentakill. You know, we have to wait and see. You've already got 2 pentakills in the last 2 best of 3 series. I know you want to see a pentakill as well, Stress. So we'll have to see about that one. And Formulation's duo lane, I think, is quite an interesting one as well, because when we casted them, you know, all that time ago at the start of the year, they were bringing out these crazy duo lane picks. You know, Feka was the one bringing out like Galio in the duo lane, Seraphine as well, which I know is quite a popular pick with Formulation. So I think this matchup, even though it might be heavily one-sided towards RIX, I feel like Formulation could definitely bring up 1 or 2 surprises.
Yeah, I think you have a fair statement there. I think the Karma we're going to have banned in every single game. I don't think we're going to see that through. It got through one game that Hells was talking about, and then since then, not at all. So I think it's going to maintain that. A Rakan ban, a Gragas ban, RIX is just like, let's just take away the strongest red side first rotation and just get that off the board. Olaf maintains being a red side ban though, which is interesting to me, because with the Yuumi ban, it really only is the Lulu that is as potent, but we've seen teams play well with the Olaf even without those supports.
Yeah, definitely. Olaf just said champion, I think, with the new items as well, the new Death Stars with Divine Thunderer coming in as well. You could just be so tanky and just deal so much. And yeah, like you said, the Karma, it was the first game of the new patch 3.1, where RIX were able to pick it up, because people didn't really know the new patch that well. But as soon as Clue picked up that Karma, ever since then, it's been 100% banned. So only 1 game so far for Karma. Maybe, hopefully, we'll see a Shen. I really want to see Shen, to be fair, even though I don't think Shen is as strong as what he is. I think his lane phase is not really that good. But he still has that global ultimate that he's able to get, you know, across the map whenever he can. So there's a few interesting picks left open. Interesting enough, it's going to be Gray's priority.
I was counting through all of the lanes, and I was going to be like, I think Graves might be the best open pick. And I didn't want to say it. I didn't want to interrupt you, but of course, Random has been playing a ton of Graves. Also can be a jungle for SE7 if they want it. Once we go past that, I'm like, the Ziggs priority has gone down. Varus priority has gone down. Irelia was available for Formulation, so that means Kimau is going to take that for Don. Don will be picking that out of the middle lane. Now we get a Jax out of the jungle, likely for SE7. That puts Random on that Graves in the top lane. So already a lot of split push threat coming from RIX, and we've seen this a whole lot since this patch.
Yep, SC7 on that Jax jungle, which means it will be Random, or it could be Snitch mid lane as well. I think Snitch actually picked Graves mid lane a few times as well. Interesting high priority on the Nami. Very, very interesting. You know, with the likes of Galio still open as well, it's quite interesting to see Nami as the priority. But I think when you have like a Jackson Graves by your side, I think just being able to heal them, buff them up, use that tidal wave to help out as well. But yeah, Formulation, they've got all comfort picks. UI is going to be on the set. Kimao's got his Kha'Zix. Don's got his Irelia. This is what Formulation wanted. If there's ever a way that you're going to try and get through RIX, it's getting them comfort picks. And I spoke a little bit about the mid lane matchup. It could be Graves against Irelia. Could be Graves up in the top lane. We'll have to see. But Formulation, so far, so good. They got a few champions that they feel very, very comfortable with. Yeah,
we'll see whether that Kha'Zix can carry off. Goes to Seraphine. RIX know that that's one option that Formulation could have been playing. They have played it before from that the bot lane carry role. Xayah taken away. We saw it in our last series of Team Dark. Didn't really have that much prominence, and I've just seen Hells feels potentially a Jhin coming. We'll see whether that actually comes to priority. Hells always feels a Jhin coming every so often. He's always like, this is a good game for Jhin. This is a good game for Jhin. So I'll see whether it actually comes through. Akali comes out of the ban phase for Formulation, so wanting to remove that from the board too. What are RIX going to ban for their last one? Like supports that are available, like Thresh is up. if they want to ban it.
Yeah, potentially.
Engage, maybe Braum or Alistair.
Potentially supports, potentially another maybe Duralane carry as well, maybe another mage could be off the board, potentially a Ziggs could be another one. There you go, as soon as I say it's got banned. Yeah, there you go, just in time. So yeah, these AP mages in the Duralane I think are going to be picked from formulation because their top side is already so AD heavy. So I think here you potentially pick your support unless you want to leave your support till last pick, but it probably is going to be like an Orianna potentially. Brand, we saw Veigar come out yesterday, which
Morgana
could be a fairly
also.
decent pick, but yeah, Morgana as well. There are a lot of AP mages up and available, and Corki. Oh, I completely forgot about the Corki. I spoke about AP mages, and Corki was the one that slipped through the entire ban and first picking phase. And we'll go over to Fekko, which no surprise, he loves his Corki. He's been playing so much Corki recently, so we'll have to see how RIX counter that.
Yeah, we'll see what RIX come with. They're looking for their AD carry, or at least bot lane carry, plus then whether it's a solo lane for top or mid. Let's see where they go. A lot of options available in general. It's going to be the Orianna likely as a bot lane carry. Now we get 25 seconds before that's actually determined. Could very well still go to Snitch, but it's unlikely. Here in Wild Rift, we get a lot of Orianna in the bottom lane, which, I mean, this is away from what we've been expecting from like the Jinx style that RIX have been doing, and way more towards the last patch. I think the difference there though is the Jax and the Graves do throw things a little bit differently. With a Jace as well, like really strong side laners.
Yeah, for sure. I think they're definitely going to be playing more towards the top side of the map with SE7 on a carry, with Random on a carry as well. They're just like, okay, Doom, you've had your fun already. You had your Jinx games. Now you're going to be back on the Orianna. Just be that wave clear, because I think except for really Orianna and Jace a little bit, they don't have much wave clear, to be honest. So you need someone in there to help out with that. So now it's going to be the support pick potentially left for Zawa, and it's going to be Leona. So a lot of heavy engage on the side of formulation with Irelia wants to jump in, Kha'Zix wants to jump in. A lot of single target focus as well with that Leona and with that set. So they're going to be trying to catch the members of RIX off guard. But when you have, you know, Graves scaling, SE7 is going to be scaling on the Jax, Jason, Orianna as well. The late game of RIX is looking very, very scary.
Yeah, very scary. And we know that RIX can play for that. We know they can slow games down when they need to. I think formulation, their late game is okay as well. At the same time, you've got the Corki, you've got the Irelia, which Irelia can scale pretty well. Kind of depends on how these team fights go. I feel like if RIX can avoid fighting around that Irelia, that basically is the key to their gameplay. And we've seen them utilize like Random pushing on the side lane really effectively. The same with SE7. So I think they're opting way more towards the top side of the map than they are towards the bottom side, which a departure for RIX, but it's something we've seen from them and something they're comfortable with.
Yeah, I think with this Leona pick, I think formulation definitely going to be trying to play around this bot side of the map, because you're against an Orianna and a Nami, which is not really the strongest lane, to be fair. It's a very passive lane, and when you have, you know, someone like a Kha'Zix in the jungle that can look to roam down, you have the lockdown of Leona onto potentially a squishy target like the Nami. It could be a way that formulation could try and get ahead. But if you go game number one, a lot on the line for these two teams, and RIX, even though they're heavy favorites, formulation got a few comfort picks this time around. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see.
I think that's always the scary thing, is like Don has looked really good on his Irelia. We once again have our streamer showdown in the middle lane with Snitch against Don. Snitch, I think he's been playing the Graves. The way I read it, I feel like Graves should be relatively safe against Irelia, right? All you got to do is dodge her engage when she gets her ultimate. I think you're okay. Oh, yeah, actually, you just walk into lane and demolish. You walk into lane and take 3/4 of her health.
I was going to say Don with Irelia in general just wants to try and stack up the passive as much as possible and try and get the stacks so then she can look to dive in afterwards. But when you're just trying to auto attack minions and try and use your first ability to get the minions, Snitch could just walk up and auto attack. You can do a lot of damage with Graves in the early game. And obviously his abilities as well also does a lot of damage, so it's going to be really hard for Don to step up, even though it's kind of a range versus melee matchup in the mid lane. You can see Kamau as well already moving towards this mid lane and just going to push out this lane as well, because they know that Don is already struggling. So Kamau's just going to be here, a little bit of a helping hand, probably going to push out this lane so Don can potentially go back to base and try and get that first little buy that they have. Sneaky little ward there as well.
Yeah, that's one of the other things, though, about Graves, though, that makes him so secure. Not only are you ranged, not only can you push the lane quite quickly, you also have that quick draw. The dash on his third ability allows you to just get out of a situation. Very short dash, plus the smoke screen really can give you a lot of safety in that laning phase. So we just saw Snitch use that. I was watching on the minimap, and you always have a very recognizable movement of the champion portrait when it dashes in lane. So easy escape from Snitch to avoid Kamau's attempt at a gank early on. Kamau does have the advantage, though, from some of the experience. It looks like he leached off the lane compared to SC7. They got that crab from bottom side as well. So we'll see how SC7 plays this early game. Jax is going to be able to scale to late game, though. I mean, that's what we always have to look for with Jax, right? It's like eventually he becomes unstoppable on the side lane.
Yeah, you won't be seeing SC7 doing too much. As I say that, he's going to look towards the barrel lane, but Kamau's up here as well. It'll be interesting to see if they know that Kamau's up here taking them golems. But the only problem that Don really has at the moment is that he's had a lot of experience taken away from him. It was, Zawa in the early game going mid lane, taking the experience, and then also Kamau. And you can see that he's nearly over a level behind already because Kamau came into lane and took experience. Zawa did the same as well in the early game. And that could push him really, really far behind, because when you're at a level disadvantage, especially in a kind of a losing matchup in the mid lane, because Irelia kind of needs a few items before she can really do too much, it's going to be a bit difficult. You can see, look, because Snitch is nearly level 6 and Don only just got level 5, and Snitch has still a few minions to get here, so you can potentially get level 6
as well. Yeah, exactly. Like that extra experience he's going to get. One thing I wanted to know, just watching the minimap, is I might not have time. Kamau's going to ult. Nope, Snitch. There we go. Quick draws away. They knew that Kamau was on bot side because there's actually a ward at the jungle entrance. I believe it's either Clue or Doom put it down. You can see just on the path to blue buff on the minimap. On the red side of the rift. That ward spotted Kamau about a minute ago. So they knew exactly where it was. Here goes the engage into the middle lane. Not really going to be able to complete it from random side of things. Backs away without committing too much. And RIX, they're controlling the lanes pretty well, but formulation at least hanging in there. They're not falling behind, I think, is the other thing. I mean, obviously UI has just collected some farm as random roams, but that should get evened out fairly shortly.
I remember speaking to Don a little bit as well about this game, and he was saying that he sometimes, kind of hates playing against RIX because RIX kind of focus him a lot in the mid lane, and you can see there with Random already going to the mid lane. SC7 hasn't done too much, but I think that's why you've got Kamau and Zawa looking towards the mid lane as well, because they know the way, how RIX play against formulation. I feel like Don is definitely one of the shining lights really for formulation. He's been performing so well in this Irelia, so trying to shut down the Irelia and Don as much as possible. To be honest, he's only 200 gold behind, which is actually not too bad considering how kind of poorly the early game went for him, and he was taking so much damage, and he had to have so much experience taken away from him. But now the first objectives are up and available. You're seeing Snitch going down to the dual lane, and potentially Don's going to be doing the same, but they're just actually going to focus straight towards this dragon.
Kind of interesting, though. It's hard for RIX to contest the first objective with this composition, right? As they want to push the side lane, Snitch is going to try and throw a little bit of chaos in the mix by throwing out the smoke screen. Some damage lands. Shockwave will go through onto Zawa. Tidal wave as well. 3 caught by it, but low health, not able to be converted. Collateral damage is going to set up Random to be able to convert the last part of that kill. Will drop in response, though, and that's a kill picked up, but in goes Snitch for his second kill, or at least his first of the 2 in the fight, as SC7 smites down the Rift Herald. He wasn't even there for that exchange, and now UI is trying to run away. Does have the suplex available if he wants, but I don't know whether that's going to help him out too much. It's going to get him closer to the turret, but also closer to death, as it's a 3rd kill on the board for RIX.
Great movement by SC7 to completely dodge the Haymaker true damage there. You can see as soon as the Haymaker came out, SC7 stopped auto-attacking. He moved behind the set, so he was able to dodge the Haymaker damage. And you can see it was just an easy cleanup in the end with UI not having Flash or Ignite available. And yeah, it's a 4 versus 4 fight in the dual lane. And like you said, it's kind of hard for RIX to contest the first objectives. Instead of contesting the objective itself, they just went for a team fight straight afterwards. Really nice shockwave into the tidal wave as well. And all that slow and knockup up, allowed Random to use acceleration gate to go towards formulation, pick up a few kills, and meanwhile, whilst all that was happening, you just had SE7 taking the Rift Herald and getting an easy solo kill.
Yeah, Don is having a bad day. He steps into lane and now he's got both Random and Snitch on two of the fastest pushing champions in the game right now when you look at it from a range perspective. Now Random does get jumped on by Don. Now from the side, Kamau's here as well. Snitch is able to body block a little bit as Clue was caught, forced to use the tidal wave. Solar Flare is going to evaporate the water off this one, and Nami goes back to the fountain. 3 kills to 2 overall, but it's formulation making that play as Doom. They're going to push. Doom is going to push the middle lane, but it can't get too much more as in comes UI to stop that.
It's actually a really nice solar flare by Zawa, because I think he was actually blinded by the smoke screen of Graves, so it's kind of like a blind prediction of where Clue was going to be, but able to take that out. The mid lane tower does go down as well. Meanwhile, while this is all happening, Doom has to flash away and escape, but will be able to escape pretty easily. But that's a mid lane tower already going down. That's the first tower of the game as well, going to RIX. So had a little bit of distraction really from RIX down in the Dura lane, just allowed Doom to use that mid lane, use that Rift Herald, and use that pushing power that Orianna has to get the first tower of the game.
Yeah, committing his flash because he's like, it's 64 health. No way in hell am I letting this tower stay up. I'm going to commit this. I know I can get away with it.
#worth.
Exactly in that moment. I mean, you know, it's been a while since we've talked about the importance of mid tower, and I know people probably got bored of it back in the meta where everyone was playing like wave clear champions that can play towards mid. But we've seen so much more side lane action that this might be a game where it's actually impactful now, because Corki's kind of stuck clearing mid, whereas RIX, like this, SE7 can cut down into the bottom lane. Doom's down here as well. Corki is able to float out of the lane for now, as that's Random picking up one on the side. A set died from the side of UI on the others. It's up at the top lane that actually happened, as RIX, there are only 3 members down here and they're still basically winning this fight. Solar Flare connects only with the slow, as SE7 counter-strike is not enough to keep him alive. There's so many low health bars. If Snitch can get close enough, he can clean this up, but doesn't have the collateral damage available. Can't stick enough damage on, as Fekko is going to be able to take the blast cone over the wall. Low health bars not converted by RIX, but they did pick up 2 kills, I think, overall, and they've been able to push towers down as well.
Yeah, again, it's just another real distraction by RIX. They're able to take this Baron Lane tower. That's 2 towers to 0 already. Great bubble and great timing on the tidal wave as well. You can see that Clue actually delayed the timing of his tidal wave to chain that crowd control, because if you bubble and then tidal wave afterwards, actually the UI will be able to move and flash or dodge a little bit sooner than normal, but timing the bubble, and as soon as the UI drops to the ground, the tidal wave comes down. So really nice control there by RIX and by Clue. And yeah, 2 towers to 0 now, and even though formulation do quite well in these team fights, it's a little bit interesting to see that RIX are just playing the map so much better. You know, mid lane tower, Baron lane tower, again formulation are trying to group. A great shockwave.
Yeah, shockwave connects, but it's Doom dropping to start out as the package has split RIX. Snitch is stuck a little bit up on the ramp as in goes Random, trying to get the kills from the backside. SE7 jumps in, gets the leap strike, but leaps to his Doom. And now that's another kill going over to formulation, but it doesn't matter. Snitch is going to be able to push bottom lane. They'll be able to cut back down to the dragon. These fights are close, but RIX are eking out ahead every single time.
Yeah, formulation, they're trying to win the team fights. They're quite trying to group up, but I think RIX are just so far ahead at the moment. And yeah, that's a weird Jax build if I've ever seen one.
Do we call this a Legolas build? Like this many bows? Like, here was the fight from RIX going for the dragon.
Yeah, it was a great shockwave by Doom, and it was actually a really good package as well, trying to split up RIX. You can see that Clue and Random kind of struggled to go forward, but as soon as that package drops, RIX and Random and Clue were able to jump in and just clean up the rest of the team fight. And it's just the early game rotations really by RIX, you know, getting them early towers, getting that early gold advantage. And honestly, I think this is just a misbuy by SE7. I think he just like got 2 recurve bows by accident, because I have no idea what that second bow is going to be. I think one's going to go into maybe Rune King. Oh yeah, potentially Wits End. Yeah, that could be very true. Yeah, Wits End.
if he's intending to go both, I don't know whether this is actually like the correct thing to do at all, because obviously like Blade of the Rune King is a massive power spike for Jax, but I mean he might end up using it anyway, but his attack speed is going to be through the roof already. That's something to say for a lot of ultimates used in that exchange, but eventually no deaths come through. You got to assume it's what's
Yeah, it'll be I think it'll be Witsend Blade of the Rune King. I mean, most people go Blade of the Rune King first item on Jax, just like you say, because it's such a strong early game item for Jax. But utilizing his passive as much as he can, really, with the attack speed, trying to get as many bonks as he can with his, I was going to say weapon, but he doesn't have a real weapon, unfortunately.
Yeah,
he has a lamp.
Lamp.
Yeah, he doesn't have a real weapon. But imagine if he did have a real weapon.
Imagine if he did. That would be kind of busted. It would be kind of insane. I mean, RIX, their whole comp like pushes towers insanely fast, so he will be able to utilize this extra attack speed at some point, I'm sure. There is the Blade of the Rune King completed, so we can just pretend he's going Wit's End anyway, and it makes total sense from here. So no worries, ST7. We've got you back. We've got you covered. As RIX, they're going to be able to avoid, forced to flash out though, and Doom avoids the solar flare. And there's the big tidal wave and the shockwave on top of it, but the damage in the back end for RIX is gonna rip through formulation. UI has managed to kite back very effectively as Fekko 1 versus 3 picks himself up a second kill. It was a 4 versus 5 overall, but RIX still come out ahead.
And again, meanwhile, whilst all this is happening, SC7 is just split pushing in the barrel lane. I feel like this kind of how this game has gone in general is Formulation trying to take these team fights and take the fights to RIX, but RIX was able to just play the map so much better. You see the Rift Herald is now going to be dropped in the barrel lane. Potentially the dual lane tower is also going to go down. And yeah, that's 2 inhibitors down already at just over 12 minutes into the game. This is domination by RIX.
Yeah, it's a ridiculous pace on the game for RIX right now. This is the fight that opened up bot lane.
Yeah, you can see the formulation. They tried their best to catch up random, but look, they're all grouped together. Tidal wave on top of the shock wave, and Snitch's collateral damage as well was just way too much for formulation to deal with. And this was their fight as well. This is a 4 versus 5, like you said. And if you can't win a 4 versus 5, and they're going to look to try and engage again.
Ooh, big pick on SC7 though, is that's 2 dropped right as Baron is spawning. You can see the animation completing. Now Random is on the retreat. Snitch might like try and end the game from this on the bottom lane if Formulation try and take the Baron. As again, how are RIX winning another 4 versus 5? This is insane. They're so far ahead. That might just be it. That's going to be the 3rd inhibitor of the game going to go down in favor of RIX. They've still got 20 seconds on the death timers, and with the Graves and a Jace, that's just going to be a lot of tower pushing and structure pushing potential. They don't want to overextend though. With the Baron up, they want to make sure that they can reset themselves, but 3 waves of supers are going to be pushing the base.
Yeah, I think when 3 super minions, 3 waves of super minions are going to be pushing into your base, I think it's pretty much game over. The difference with Wild Rift is we go to the replay again, and it's Formulation trying to pick off SC7. They do get a great pick off, and they actually pick off Doom straight afterwards. But Clue and Random, 2 versus 4, was able to survive this entire fight. Random doing really well to use both his range form and his melee form. Dodges the solar flare as well. Jumps back into UI. You can see Clue just standing off at the sidelines, giving him the heals, giving him the extra buffs as well. Really, really well played. And yeah, RIX, they're able to just easily take this Baron. You can see the Formulation don't even know that they're doing the Baron. They're going to take it nice and easily, and Formulation way too distracted by this dragon. Yeah. And that's going to be the Baron taken away. And like I said, Strasman, 3 inhibitors are down, and obviously in Wild Rift, they don't respawn back like PC League. There's just no way of coming back. Yeah,
I think Formulation had the entire understanding that that Baron was being taken down. Jax eats it so quickly. Now Counter-Strike is going to be channeled as in goes UI, trying to keep himself alive. Double kill has already come through for Random, and this is it. SC7 and the rest of RIX is just going to walk through the base like a hot knife through butter, taking game 1 against Formulation. That looked way too comfortable for RIX.
Yeah, dominant performance by RIX, and I think their macro pay is just above and beyond anyone else in this competition. I think, especially they showed it here. They could show that, you know, you can take team fights to RIX, but they'll just split up the entire map. You know, you had the early game fight that Doom was able to take the mid lane tower, then another fight afterwards as well. Random was able to take the Baron lane tower, and it was Formations the one that was trying to play aggressive throughout this entire game. They were trying to take it to RIX, but you just can't take it to RIX, unfortunately, because they'll just outplay you over the rest of the map. I think it was like a 5,000 gold lead in the early game, and that was just because there was 2 towers taken. And I'm not actually too sure if Formulation took 1 tower this entire game. I actually don't think they did at all, which just shows that how towers in the early game can actually be so important, and how the meta can shift ever so slightly, because we're so used to dragons being a priority. 4 minutes, everyone in groups are dragons, but RIX just showed that you don't really need to focus dragons and team fights that much. You can use that to try and take towers, get that little bit of an early game goal lead through taking the early game towers, and use that to accelerate and get that victory.
And that's the thing, is like the changes to tower gold aren't really the cause of this in any way, but what it does mean is, like, when random is pushing down the tower solo, or SC7 is pushing down the tower solo, the same with Snitch, that enhanced local gold makes those individuals so much stronger. And when RIX go, okay, well, we have a Jace, we have a Jax, we have a Graves, we can push towers really quick, that lead on those individuals is just so hard to deal with in formulation. And really that's what we saw, is like RIX drafted for tower pushing, and they tower pushed, and they won the game. They got every single tower on the map and just pushed down. Lost 0, you are correct, at the end of the game. And RIX, I mean, that looked like child's play for them.
Yeah, I mean, it just looked as easy as anything. That was like, it seemed like one of the easiest games that they've ever played, to be fair. I mean, it was just really clean, really well played by RIX. They did die a few times in the end, but I think that was more formulation, just playing really aggressive. But formulation, they didn't have a lot of wave clear, and as you said, RIX is so strong as a composition in terms of sieging. They got Doom, they got Random for a little bit of poke, they got Snitch because he was able to deal, a lot of damage to towers. And you see, SC7 didn't really do too much this game. 8,700 damage. Didn't really do too much, but to be honest, we never really got to the stage of game where Jax really becomes strong, because the game ended so quickly. It was just random on this Jace. It was Snitch and Doom that was able to just deal so much damage. You can see the gold graph, just a steady gold lead throughout the entire game for RIX.
There's one tiny little spot where there's formulation at about 4 minutes into the game managed to come into it. I mean, it was a composition where, like, RIX didn't need their bot lane to be particularly proactive. That's not to say that Doom and Clue did bad at all. I think Clue had some really good tidal waves. I think, like, there were some good shockwaves in there. But this is a game where RIX went directly the opposite way from the Jinx that they've been playing, and showed us that they can play this macro stage. Let's take a look at the play of the game. The team fights were probably not the most impactful things about this game, but it was mostly the objectives that came from them.
Yeah, it'd be interesting if the play of the game is something to do with the objectives. Oh, it's going to be the last one. Yeah, it's going to be the big one. Last one. It was just formulation, trying to catch out Random. But the problem is that when you're against, Doom, when you're against Clue and Snitch, who have got all these champions that can basically do perfect when champions are grouping together, like formulation did, tidal wave, shockwave, collateral damage. That's not a place you want to be for formulation. They only get one kill and then they lose their entire team. And meanwhile, whilst all that was happening, SC7 was just pushing in the Baron lane, and it just showed at that point how far RIX were ahead, and they're 1-0 up already.
1-0 up already. It feels like we're speed running this day. We've had a 2-0. We're now 1-0 up. RIX seem unfazed by any of the competition here in the last chance qualifier, perhaps peaking at the right time for them. We'll see whether they 2-0 this series as we come back in just a few minutes' time.
you'll be when you promise this, you and me. Could it be us? Could it be us till forever? Till forever, forever us. Could it be us? Could it be us till forever? Till forever. Say you'll be mine. Say that you will, say that you will. Say you'll be mine. Say that you will, say that you will. You will always be the deepest part of me. Heavy hearts healed in time, memories stuck in mine. Never believed I'd start again, that our search was at its end. Could it be us? Could it be us till forever? Till forever. Say you'll be mine. Say that you will, say that you will. Say you'll be mine. Say that you will, say that you will. You'll always be a part of me. Till forever. You'll always be a part of me. Say you'll be mine. Say that you will, say that you will. Say that you will. Could it be us? Could it be us till forever? Till forever.
You ready?
Welcome back, everybody, to the Wild Rift European Speedrun Championships, where RIX are trying to have the shortest game times for any team in this competition. I feel like their series they won the other day was like 2 12-minute games as well. Like, yes, RIX just seem like head and shoulders above every other team, and we're just apparently waiting for a RIX versus Game Lord rematch in about a month's time.
Yeah, I think that's what everyone's waiting for, but they still have to get through Formulation first. They haven't won just yet, but if it's anything like the first game, you know, Formulation, they're going to try and take it to RIX. They're going to try and team fight, but the macro play of RIX is just phenomenal, and I think everyone's just really waiting for that rematch, because the last time we saw it, Game Lord dominated, but now RIX on this just look absolutely unbeatable.
I'm trying to build the curse up as strong as I can get it by like overhyping RIX and seeing if we can make it backfire on him. Anyway, I mean, before we head into game 2, there's not too much to have looked at from game 1, but let's hear Hell's key points coming out of a dominating victory for RIX.
That's right, Stress. That was a dominating victory, and that's why all 3 key points are going to be about RIX, because the first thing why this was an absolutely dominating victory was RIX's amazing turret pushing. We saw them constantly distract Formulation Gaming on opposite sides of the map, while some member was pushing a turret, right? Like, they were constantly doing that. And then the next thing, their macro overall was just perfect. Just, like, as I said, in the later game as well, they were constantly taking fights that they could, even though it was a 4 versus 5 situation, because they just can. They have the Orianna, they have the Graves, they just have the tools at their disposal to do it. And then the next thing is, everyone in RIX is strong. And what I mean with that, like, every player in their respective role just does what he has to do. He just does what he has to do. And this game, it was Random popping off. And then the other game is going to be Doom getting a pentakill. And then the other game, it's SC7 in the jungle. Like, every single player has it all. That's the whole power of RIX. You just can't shut down a lane, because the other lane is going to absolutely hard carry the game. So let's see if they can hard carry the game in the next series as well. So yeah, back to Stress and Stewart to get us into it.
It would not be a surprise if they could. I think Formulation, we're going to need to see the best level out of them that we've seen in order to come back in this series. I think Formulations have had flashes of looking good throughout this entire season. I think they've looked their best when they're playing proactive team fighting compositions, where they're going aggressive on the engage. And I understand why they've drafted the Aurelia for Dawn. That has worked against weaker teams, but I think against the stronger teams, you just recognize that it's not a strength. It's actually a weakness, where you have no wave clear from that mid lane. You have a very specific playstyle that you have to play, and teams like RIX just play around it very quickly.
Yeah, Don got put really far behind in the early game, kind of from his own team as well at the same time, as well as Snitch, because he had Zawa moving over to the mid lane. He had Kamau as well, which took up so much experience, and that just didn't allow Don to really do that much. Obviously, Graves has that inbuilt armor that he's able to build up as well over time, so it's really hard for Irelia, who does scale well into late game, but can look for them early game plays, especially against mages as well. But when you go to Graves in the mid lane, Don just can't really do too much. And like I said before, you know, Don's been speaking a lot about RIX and camping mid lane as well. So maybe he's going to have to try and find something else. But like you said, I think Formulation need to be on their top game to even get close to trying to beat RIX.
And I think they have to ban the Graves. I think Graves is too flexible for RIX, who are too good at it. Random plays it, Snitch plays it, and SE7, I'm sure, can play it if he hasn't had to already. So Graves needs to go off the table. Now, what that does is that it's going to open up, I believe Camille was one of the bans and Diana was the other. So it could open up a Camille first pick quite easily for RIX here.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to be banning away the Diana. I highly doubt they'll leave Camille, because I think that's definitely going to be the first pick for RIX. It'll be interesting to see what the first pick's going to actually be, if it is going to be a Camille ban. Instead, they ban away the Jax. So this is probably going to be a Camille first pick. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it's, I wouldn't be surprised if it's not. But Jax, I don't feel like really did too much in the previous game, to be fair. Didn't really do that much in terms of damage, but I think it's just that late game insurance and just SE7 on that champion is just still insanely strong.
They don't want to face the dark tech of double recurve Bojax. It's too in their heads. They don't want it. I mean, any opportunity that RIX can get random on a pick like Camille, I think is a perfect start of a draft, unless Formulation have something specific to go up against it. Olaf actually finds his way through the draft. So now Olaf we've seen struggle without some of the support picks. Do you have to force the Lulu out early? Is that something that's necessary? Because it will get banned in the second rotation if you don't pick it.
It'd be interesting, because if they don't pick it here, then it's for the side of RIX. You know, do they pick a Lulu for themselves? Actually, they go for Nami instead. So denying the Nami away from Clue. Now, most of the time we do see Olaf paired with Yuumi or Lulu. Obviously, Yuumi is currently disabled, so she can't be picked at all. But normally with a Lulu, but instead pairing it with a Nami. And now RIX are denying away Irelia away from Formulation. This has turned into a really interesting draft.
Is this Snitch ego playing against Don, where he's like, I'll just beat you with your own pick? Like, because Snitch, I wouldn't attribute as being an Irelia player, like right up. But one thing to talk about that Irelia will do is, in a similar way to the Graves in the last game, it will play the side lane very well. Plus, with the Lee Sin now to activate, allows you to cut into the side lane and take very small skirmish fights in the way that RIX just did in the last game.
I think the last time we actually saw Lee Sin on SE7 on Lee Sin was actually when we recasted him before back in Purge, which wasn't really too great, to be fair. But Lee Sin gives you that early game, you know, roaming around the map. You can combo that with the likes of Camille in the early game at level 5, with Irelia in the mid lane. It's a really strong top side of the map for RIX, and that probably means that we're going to be seeing, unfortunately, another AP mage down in the dual lane for RIX, and Doom's probably going to be stuck on the Orianna again. Corki, interesting enough, being picked away from Formulation, which means that they're probably going to be banning just AP mages now away from Doom. So Ziggs and Orianna will probably be the bans. Oh no, interesting enough, Thresh is going to be banned away. So maybe focusing more on supports instead.
The reason you have to ban Thresh here is because if you're playing heavily for side lanes, your support needs to be able to avoid fights, right? Nami is one of them. Thresh is another that allows the AD carry to kind of bring them to safety. I wonder whether that means Braum will find themselves on the ban list as well, or if it'll be the mages that you're talking about. I want to see RIX still play an AD carry. I don't think this is a comp to do it, unless it's a carry that has an escape. But most of them are out of the meta. Ezreal is not played particularly well because it doesn't give you wave clear. You don't see Tristana too much in the meta. You've seen, I think, one game of it. And outside of that, most of them don't have escapes.
Yeah, mostly you pair the AD carries that don't really have a lot of escapes with a champion like Thresh, so maybe that's also why Formulation ban it away. But it's going to be the Ziggs as the second ban as well, just not giving that away. And Yasuo was set to being banned away from RIX as well, so again, more AD bruisers being banned away and AD assassins banned away for the side of RIX. And our Formulation, they're going to be either picking their Baron laner or their mid laner. Do they want to leave that last pick for Don in the mid lane, but I feel like you know the matchups already because, you know, Irelia and Camille, maybe you don't know who's going to go where.
Do you flex Renekton here? Or something like that? Or, okay, Wukong from top lane. I was going to say, something that can play in both lanes. I mean, you know both of the solo laners, but I feel like they're kind of Formulation might be hiding something with their last pick. Seraphine picked up.
They're basically playing a Formulation draft. What is this?
They are.
They're basically, you know,
are we sure Formulation are on the red side?
Yeah, I was gonna say, have we swapped this around? And the Sonar, wow, we're getting a right throwback. And I remember me and Komoto playing Seraphine Sonar down in the Dura lane. I feel like this draft is it could be flipped. To be fair, it could be because we've seen Formulation pick the Seraphine, pick the Sonar before. We've seen Don play Irelia mid lane. I think we're not really too sure where Random and Snitch are going to be or what champions are going to be on. It will probably be Irelia mid and Camille in the Baron lane, but we'll have to see what matchups they prefer because now we get the Ahri in the mid lane, Wukong in the top lane as well. But wow, Seraphine, Sonar in the Dura lane. I think when you have, you know, Irelia and Camille as well, just the amount of healing and shielding that you can give to all these AD Bruisers and AD Assassins is going to be so hard to deal with.
Is this the anything you can do, we can do better comp from RIX? Like
the BM
we'll
comp.
find out when we load into game. But I mean, this actually still does what RIX just did very well in game. Like Irelia has side lane presence, Camille has side lane presence, Seraphine Sonar are really hard to kill, and Lee Sin can play around their side laners as well. So it basically is exactly the same type of composition. It just is what you would say as signature picks from Formulation, which makes it feel a little bit egotistical out of RIX to bring out. Maybe I'm overhyping that a little bit, but I'm looking forward to seeing Snitch's Irelia up against Dawn.
Well, yeah, hopefully it's going to be Snitch's Irelia because, like you said, I think that'll be like, okay, you know what? You think that you're good at Irelia? I can play Irelia better. Let me show you how to play Irelia. And then you got the same in the Dura lane as well with the Seraphine. So I think it was the first time Doom's probably played Seraphine, to be fair. I don't think I've ever seen Doom play Seraphine before, so that's going to be a really interesting one. And
yeah,
yes, it's going to be
loaded in
Snitch on Irelia.
And it's correct. It is RIX playing essentially the Formulation comp that we've come to expect. As Formulation are going to be playing a little bit more of a fragmented composition. It doesn't have, I mean, it has a decent amount of skirmishing potential, but it doesn't have a clear identity in the way that I feel like RIX's comp does.
Yeah, I think they're going to want to probably team fight a lot, you know, with the package from Corki, with Olaf jumping in, with the Wukong ultimate on top of that, and also Ahri as well. But Ahri might have a little bit of a difficult time against Snitch in the mid lane, because if Snitch can stack up the passives and jump straight in, which looks like is what he's done already, and there you go, you can see the struggle already. And like I said before in the previous game, even though Irelia is more of a late game scaling champion, you do still have that passive that could be so strong against mages in the mid lane, because if you land Irelia's third ability, if you're able to get the dash, you get that Q reset, you're able to just do so much damage. You can see already that Don is having a really hard time. And again, that means Kamal has to come to the mid lane, has to help out with wave clear. But this time SC7's here.
Ooh, SC7's here. They connect to the Sonic Wave. First blood going down, and it's over to SC7. And again, this game has started in the way that RIX needed it to, as Formulation back away from mid lane. Zawa was here, but I mean, the bot lane's now getting pushed out heavily by RIX.
I'll be really curious to see if actually Formulation saw SC7 or not, because it's hard to tell, because there's not really a fog of war that we can really see in the game, unfortunately. But I'm not too sure if SC7 was just out of vision. But look, Snitch is just going in again, and SC7 was behind them.
Flash. Yeah, SC7 gets the flash in response. Zawa's the one getting attacked, gets taken down as, ooh, big fancy feet out of SC7 to get himself away with the safeguard, and then the flash on top of it. Snitch just runs back through the lane, cuts off Kamau for a moment, and Ty is not the best. But hey, he's setting up SC7. That's basically the game plan here, and I think he's got 3 kills already.
Yeah, the early game power of the Lee Sin, we spoke about it already in Champion Select, with all the mobility, with how much burst damage Lee Sin can do, and they're going straight off the Fekko.
Stun out of Doom. SC7 doesn't even get hit by the Aqua Prism. So close to death. Zawa can't get there. Oh my goodness, SC7 is playing on the absolute knife's edge in this game, but he, I think, is 4-0 so far.
Yep, 4-0 already has Black Cleaver at under 3 minutes in the game. That is ridiculous. I mean, if we ever speak about Lee Sin, you know, we always think about Lee Sin as this early game power champion that can look to snowball the game. And now you already have 4 kills over on the Lee Sin. We're going to be looking at that mid lane play again. And Snitch was kind of the bait, like you said. It was SC7 jumping in, able to catch out Zao. But interesting, SC7 flashes over the wall. Clue randomly flashes. Not really too sure why. I think he just tried to save SC7. Not too sure what that flash was, but Snitch able to like you said, kind of, you know, force Kamau to not really go back to the tower, kind of cut him off in a way. And SC7 now 4 kills, and look, he's playing with fire. He doesn't care at all. He's just in the enemy jungle, and Zawa as well. Oh, I think if SC7 waited a little bit longer, he would have seen Zawa, and he still doesn't see Zawa as well. I think that it could have been a potential to pick him off, but Zara and Kamau are both here, but it's not what you want.
The crescendo comes through. SC7's going to be able to pick up that kill easily. Hextech ultimatum means Olaf has nowhere to go. Doesn't even matter that he can avoid most crowd control. He's locked in the cage, and that means 3 seconds to go on neutral objectives. This game is rapidly going in RIX's favor, and I don't know what they can really do on the side of formulation to unseat this Lee Sin, who's going to have full control of the jungle for the rest of the game.
2,000 goal lead already at 4 minutes into the game. Over 2,000 goal lead, really. And it's the SC7 game. You know, Kels kind of spoke about it in the key points, but, you know, if someone doesn't carry on RIX, you know, if it's not random, like, you know, the previous game, if it's not Snitch, if it's not Doom on the carries, it's SC7. SC7 is showing this game how, you know, he started off a little bit shaky on RIX and didn't really perform too well, but now he's starting to feel his feet on this RIX roster and just absolutely dominating. You can see the item power spikes already for the side of RIX. Divine Sunderer for Camille, Black Cleaver for the Lee Sin, Blade of Rune King, and
it's just
Echo.
gonna... I thought kill Kamau to start this off. The tidal wave has come through, and RIX are already trying to regroup here as Doom has the ultimate available. Forced to flash out. I don't even know that was going to connect, but nevertheless uses it to make sure Rift Herald will charge and take this tower down. It's down to RIX to see whether they can get anything on the back of it. No, they're not going to. They will take mid tower instead and try and regroup at least a little bit of the gold that was just lost on that tower push topside. Oh, the charm landed. Crescendo is going to hold Fecko in place as SC7. They weren't able to push the tower. Meanwhile, on the side lane, Random did kill UI top. And that just means RIX, they know that they have the numbers advantage still.
Yeah, 74 HP on this mid lane tower. It just takes one auto attack. There you go. One auto attack is there. They're going in.
Yeah, they're going to go in because now they've got 2 kills on top of it as formulation stuck around under the low health tower, and that is RIX 9 kills to 1 on the game so far.
Oh, the charm was so close out. I didn't talk because I was thinking that Dom was just going to try and look for a charm. I think he didn't have his flash available as well, because he could have looked for a flash, but Random easily escaping here on, unless UI still has his third ability, which he does. He's going to go back in.
Yeah, that's Random. He's going to have to outplay like crazy to get out of this, and maybe very nearly does, but UI easily turns the damage on to end that one before the rest of it. RIX can get up there. Another kill credit goes over to SC7, putting him godlike in this game.
Godlike, not even 7 minutes into the game is absolutely ridiculous. Formulation are going to try and play the macro game themselves, trying to take objectives, which they were able to take the first tower of the game up in that Baron lane. They did lose mid lane tower again, but they are going to take this bottom lane tower, and you know they lost in Dragon as well. But RIX again, you know, 4,000 gold leads is just absolutely insane to watch, and that's really satisfying to watch as well. When Aurelia has low minions in the lane, if she's just able to use all the dashes from her first ability to reset, it's pretty satisfying to watch.
It is satisfying. And then you do it and you have no mana at the end of it. And then you try and do anything and you're like, oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
Well, Olaf's dead. I mean, that's one thing. Camille first pick into then Olaf is kind of asking for Camille to just find you with Hextech Ultimatum whenever it's available. It's just like always jump on you, lock you in place, lock you down. A similar principle to the Jarvan. That we don't see so much in competitive. We see it from time to time, but Olaf does get a little bit screwed up by it, as Clue doesn't get caught thanks to that extra movement speed, and will now allow RIX to push through the bottom lane. Formulation trying to answer in mid and top, and to be honest, Formulation, I think the only thing even remotely holding them in this game are the objectives they've been able to take in response, but this time it will not go the way they're looking for.
Yeah, you can look at the goal difference from the two junglers. It's 7-0, and yeah, Snitch is just going to go in again. Kemal, there's not really much you can do. Snitch is so far ahead. There we go, another kill for Snitch on the Olaf. But yeah, look at the jungle. The jungle difference at the moment is just absolutely huge. 7-0-1 for SE7, 0-6 for Kemal. This early rotation on the Olaf has not paid off, and honestly, I'm still kind of curious to what RIX, what formulation we're thinking about the Nami as well, because normally when you play a little bit passive, as SE7 goes in again.
Yeah, Zhao is going to end up flashing over the wall. Does get away for now thanks to the heal, but RIX will be able to both push through mid and then take a little bit of jungle control, but maybe they've overstayed as the crescendo does not hit the way they needed it to. SE7's going to drop. That's a big overextension from RIX. Another kill goes in the favor of formulation. Double kill going over to Fekko, and maybe RIX spread themselves just a little too thin here. Some of the ults didn't connect. They couldn't get themselves out alive.
Not too sure what a shutdown was there on SE7, but I'm sure as hell think it was, you know, absolutely huge. And Fekko was the one that was able to pick up the shutdown and also the double kill. Snitch and Doom are still here as well. You can see the randoms up in the top side of the map. They're going to try and burst down this dragon before SE7 can get here. And it looks like they will be able to, as it's going pretty low, and Snitch is just going in.
Snitch already on top of Zhao. The dragon does go over to Kamau, but I think, oh, that's a massive charm through the entire formulation lineup. And even though there are only 2 to start it, it's a triple kill for Snitch. Snitch doesn't care that Don's the one that plays the Aurelia. Snitch already dominating this matchup. It's an ace for RIX. This game is quickly going their way for the 2-0.
They got the dragon, but they lost everyone for it. They're going to lose the Rift Herald. They're going to lose the tier 2 mid lane tower as well. And this is just becoming an absolute bloodbath of a game. It's just Snitch, perfect execution here on the ultimate. I think he ulti flashes as well. Yeah, brilliant combo there. Able to use his dashes to quickly get the resets. Didn't land his third ability, but it doesn't really matter at that point. He's able to do so much damage with the Bladed Rune King with all the resets from his first ability. And yeah, you can see the rest of the team fight was just completely won, and Doom and Clue was able to survive on the back line as well. 5-1-6 on the Aurelia, 7-1-2 on Lee Sin, 5-1-3 for Random, and the topside priority in the draft from RIX.GG is paying off perfectly for them.
Yeah, they've really punished this Olaf. Playing Olaf jungle with not a lot of like shielding and that kind of thing is hard from behind. And it's even harder when your opponent gets 4 kills in 2 minutes and 30 seconds and walks in with like a black cleaver and can just fight you at any moment he chooses. It's basically impossible to play out from there. Tidal Wave connects, another 4-man charm as RIX have destroyed Formulation. This team fighting composition that RIX have taken from Formulation's playbook is going to eliminate them from the upper bracket, knock them into the lower bracket for a showdown with Queso, because this game is done.
Yeah, looks like RIX are able to secure their spot in the main stage in Barcelona. They won't have to play a play-in stage. They're going to go straight through to the main event in dominating fashion, as well as, oh, I was a little bit ahead of myself there. They're not able to finish off the game just
We're
yet.
so early in the game. we have twice as many kills on RIX as minutes in the game. And that's why these death timers are so short. SE7 has been on fire this game.
Yeah, SE7, Doom as well with that charm, and you're going to see the formulation, they group together, but the problem is you group together against a Seraphine Sonar, and you can see the combo there of the charm on top of the crescendo from the Sonar, and yeah, they just don't care anymore. SE7's going to go in 1 versus 3.
Oh
he gets
he
a
already
double
got
kill.
2. Yeah, it was a 1 versus 4
And he
in some
lives.
respects. Double kill and lives off that as it's Aurelia to clean up through the base. Snitch must have TP'd in or something, as UI is going to not even find the kill. What can Formulation do? Nothing in this game, as RIX are going to push through. This should be the last push. There's only 18 seconds left on some of the death timers. RIX will advance to the group stages of Barcelona. They await a showdown against Game Lord at some point as a rematch of our finals, but RIX have been absolutely dominant, unmatched in the last chance qualifiers.
From start to finish, RIX have just dominated the entire competition in the last chance qualifier, and they will go through to the grand finals. And like you said, they'll be able to go straight to the group stage of the Barcelona finals in May, and they don't have to play a playing match or anything like that. They go straight to group stage. And a dominant performance by RIX.GG. Kind of not really expected. I feel like Formulation could have really put up a big of a fight, but yeah, as you said, speed run of a day. Team Queso 2-0, RIX.GG 2-0. We still got a third best of 3 series to come as well, but that matchup tomorrow is going to be very interesting. Team Queso against Formulation. The winner of that goes through to the grand finals and they book their spot in the group stage of Barcelona, and the loser has to play the winner of our third series of the day. So the game's not over yet, but RIX dominating performance.
That was as good as RIX have looked.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen pentakills looking really good for RIX in their games previously, but I mean, this was just dominant. This entire series, like I feel like Formulation from both drafts never got into game at all. Like it just feels like this was a foregone conclusion before the game ever started. And then RIX, like whether it was ego, whether these are the right picks to play, it doesn't matter because they just crushed Formulation with picks and a comp that Formulation are used to playing game in, game out.
Yeah, definitely. And even though Formulation have booked their tickets to Barcelona, they have to go back to the drawing boards, you know, because when you get dominated this much by RIX, and RIX are going to be one of them other teams in Barcelona as well. And they still got another series tomorrow as well, Formulation. They're just going to have to quickly mental reset, kind of forget about this game now. It's over and done with. I think there was no doubt that RIX were going to come out on top, but being this dominant, it just shows you that RIX can just play whatever they want. It doesn't really matter what they play. This meta and this play style and this team of RIX are just above and beyond the rest. And like you said, that rematch between RIX and Gamelord, which hopefully we'll be able to see in Barcelona, is going to be a showdown that I think everyone is looking forward to.
Yeah, I really hope we get to see that matchup because I feel like RIX feel like they have some kind of payback, something to prove a little bit from it. I don't think that RIX actually need to prove anything, but what I will say is like Gamelord really upset them in the finals from a spectator perspective. So to see RIX firing on all cylinders like this and taking absolutely no prisoners on their way there. I mean, look at it, 6-1-3, 11-1-5, 8-1-8 for Snitch. Like, and we didn't even touch on the bottom lane. Like they set up every single fight that they needed to, and it's not like there were any weak links this entire series for RIX. Like both games, all 5 players looked superb.
100%. I think it was just an all-round great performance by RIX. It wasn't really one player standing out, to be honest with you. It was just RIX as a whole, as a unit, which, as we said, you know, at the start of the year when this new RIX lineup came together, they didn't look this confident. They were a little bit shaky at the start, and it took a little bit of time for them to kind of gel together. But now they've had some time to practice. They've had a lot of time to practice now, and this is the RIX that we know. This is the dominant RIX that we've expected to see. And to be honest, in the main event as well, in the WREC, RIX were dominant, but they did forward to Gamelords. So like you said, a little bit of payback, and I'm sure they're going to want to get that payback as well when we head to Barcelona in May.
Oh, I'm sure. And if RIX continue this form, I mean, we haven't seen Gamelord in weeks, right? Because they've already booked their spot. But if RIX continue this form, Gamelord have got problems on their hands because nobody has even been able to put a speed bump in front of RIX the way that they've been looking. So, after a sublime Irelia performance, taking it away from Don, I want to hear how intentional that was or whether that was a little bit personal. Let's hear from Snitch, who is for an interview with Hells.
Yeah, thank you very much, Stress. Yet again, Snitch. What an easy game, really. What an amazing victory. I want to ask you first, how are you feeling after this? Like, yet again, a 2-0? Easy.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're feeling really good. It just shows that all our practice has paid off, you know. A lot of the life of a pro gamer, I guess, is just scrims, and so much practice and coming up with ideas. And especially when it comes to a new patch, it's like finding what works and what's good. And I think, yeah, we just got a great read right now. We've done a really good job shaping up our macro game to be even better. And I think it just feels great to be like, we know these teams are really tough contenders, you know, they're on form. When you see them play against each other, it's always these really close games. And then when we play them, it feels like we're a step above. And that just feels really great, especially, you know, after losing in the WREC and coming into the last chance qualifier, you know, we obviously felt like we had some weaknesses that we wanted to shore up. And I think we're just, continuing to show really good growth.
Yeah, exactly. And talking about the new patch, I believe the fellow casters have mentioned it multiple times that this is the RIX patch. Like, you guys have, in my opinion, the most mechanically skilled players in Europe. It's just that your macro was lacking, as you mentioned in the beginning. But now, like with the new patch, random in the Baron with the new items, Doom on the ADCs, you on the Graves in the mid lane as well. Like, would you say that as well, that this is the RIX patch, basically?
I think it's definitely a huge boon to our team. I've always expressed before that I think our team and roster, one of our biggest strengths is that we just don't really have champion pool problems. Everyone's willing to pick up new champions. Everyone's willing to play something new, or, spend time learning something differently. You've got Doom, who's great at ADCs and great at AP carries. Random can obviously play like almost any style, but he's great at these carries as well. And I think the buffs to both of those types of champions are really good for our team as a whole. But yeah, I think overall, like me being so flexible in the mid lane, willing to play these different things, to give 7 different picks or give random different picks and matchups, like, yeah, I think it is a really good patch for us in general, because it buffed a lot of the things that we were good at. So generally, yeah, I think we've been really enjoying it.
Yeah, definitely. And when you go to Barcelona, you're going to be facing up against Game Lord, right? We haven't seen anything from Game Lord yet, and there is still a lot of time to prepare. But I still want to ask, how are you feeling about matching up against Game Lord in this current patch?
I mean, I think definitely a lot of our picks got buffed in this patch, so we feel pretty confident. I mean, honestly, I don't think we couldn't have won last patch. We even did, right? We beat them the round before. We definitely have what it takes to win. I think in the final, they just adapted really well against us. Shout out to Kirks, definitely on his A game that day. They had great preparation, and they just caught us in the draft pretty hard, honestly. And that's just what it came down to. They just had a better read on the day than we did, and we just couldn't compete with what they brought. So I think if we play them again, we could definitely win. As you say, we have 5 great players. I think we have so much potential to succeed, and it would just be about recognizing the meta, the event, understanding what's going on, and just beating them on the day.
Yeah, all right. Thank you very much, Snitch. That is it for the interview. I wish you the best of luck for future games and in Barcelona. And back to the casters to get us to the next series then.
Thank you.
Thanks, Hells, and for as much shit as Snitch gives me for not predicting RIX, you know what? I actually loved that interview. I think some people might listen to that and kind of forget the very first part of the interview, which is like all of our hard work and the work of being a pro gamer is paying off. And like people that just watch these games and haven't been in teams and haven't experienced scrim culture probably don't quite understand how many hours go into the practice. And when it pays off like this, it's very satisfying to watch. And I think that's what makes me like really excited to see more from RIX. Is it felt like a few months ago, like there was something that wasn't quite clicking. They've gone in, you can see they fixed it, and now they look unstoppable. And that's really exciting for me.
It just shows, with the coaches behind the scenes as well. Probably not a lot of people know that. Obviously, Mozilla and Dooms are behind the scenes for RIX. You have Kirks behind the scenes as a coach for Game Lord. Just shows how much goes into these teams. And like you said, when you watch these games, you don't really realize, but there's so many hours and there's so much work that goes into it. It's just nice to see teams like RIX pay off.
It is, for sure. Let's take a look at the play of the game from that second game. It was a quick one. So there are a few fights that went their way. I'm going to guess it's the one where like you get the ult flash into like 5 people from Snitch, where he's just feeling it.
Yeah, beautiful engage by Snitch, and the ultimate by Seraphine afterwards was so clean, landing on 4 members, and he was able to survive as well. Doom in the backline with all the heals and all the shields as well. Like I said, a little bit of a throwback really. Seraphine Sona was a really popular duo last year. Just before really Origin Series, and even at Origin Series as well, we did see Seraphine Sona come out. So it's nice to see that Seraphine Sona can still be played in this current meta. But I think with all the bruisers that are still available, with Divine Sundra, Camille, Graves, all these champions as well, that sometimes you don't need to play carries in the duo lane. Sometimes you can just play 2 supports and just help buff the rest of your team.
Well, there was a lot of help coming from them in that. I mean, setting up the engages exactly as they need to. Okay, we need to crown an MVP, and it's actually kind of a difficult one for this series because everybody played well, and I really think you could pick moments from both games that most players could have got this. I think we're giving it to SE7. That last game basically just kind of broke a bunch of ankles in the beginning of the game and then ended up so far ahead that he could just take any fight he wanted.
Like you said, probably one of the hardest MVPs I think to give in the entire WREC, just because how dominant everyone was on RIX. SE7 in the end, I think that Lee Sin performance and just the early game pathing and what he was able to do on this Lee Sin just shows the power of this pick. But you know, you can't take it away from, you know, Random, who played extremely well, Snitch as well on the Graves in the mid lane, and then the Irelia as well, Doom as well on these kind of support champions with like Oriana and Seraphine, and then Clue as well. Just overall a great performance, but we had to grant MVP, and I think SC7 was just a little bit above the rest.
Yeah, I would agree on that. 2-0 from RIX, speed running their way through. I believe they didn't drop a game in the entire last chance qualifier, if I'm not mistaken, although I only got to cast the one series with RIX, so I wasn't here for some of them for the pentakills. 2-0 RIX over formulation. We have one more series to come today on our bumper Saturday of games, and that is figuring out who will have the last play-ins qualifier spot for Barcelona. It's the talented ones going up against the Unicorns of Love. We will see both of those teams for the very first time here in Europe in a few minutes' time.